So I know you guys saw the title, and obviously, like, there is some truth behind it, but at the same point, I don't want to say it's kind of clickbaity because, like, it's completely dependent on your goals, right? But at the same time, like, most people train like they want results, but like how you train says otherwise. A perfect example is for me right now, like, one of the biggest things that are important to me is my strength, but I also at the same time care about how I look, how my appearance is, for example, right? Like, I don't necessarily want to be a bodybuilder where to the point where like all I can do is like, well, I look aesthetic, but I'm not strong. But I also don't want to be a powerlifter where all I do is squat, bench, and deadlift. That like everything else gets neglected. Hence why, like, we try to make a combination of power building. And the biggest thing is, like, when it comes to like formulating a split, you got to do it based off like what you feel like is lacking in your current physique, right? A perfect example is we use me as an example since I'm the one making this video. For me personally, one of the biggest things I could say I'm currently lacking in my current physique is my back and shoulders. Like, my lats aren't as thick as I want them to be. My shoulders. It's funny. I had a comment like a couple months back when I made a video about like why you shouldn't do such heavy lateral raises, which my opinion hasn't changed. Quite frankly, like, I still think you shouldn't. But and some guy was like, "Oh, you have underdeveloped lats," but I just ignored him. Not lats, real delts, not real delts, side delts. Jesus Christ, I just ignored him just because it's a comment people are gonna hate no matter what you do. But the biggest thing is you gotta formulate it based off like what muscle group you're trying to train. So a perfect example is like I mentioned to you guys, back and shoulders. Meaning I train them either twice or three times a week. Shoulders you can train a bit more because they have androgen receptors, meaning they're going to recover faster. So a perfect example for me, I train shoulders Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and I train back Sunday and Thursday. So the biggest thing is with me, like, especially now, like, it's like how I don't know if I made a video on it, and I did. How like it's just really important that you do some isolation work for it. So whether that's a single arm for your back or that's like some cable work for your shoulders, it's like completely dependent on like how you want to like build it. Because the whole point is you want to build a body that's strong and complete. At least if you have similar goals to me, which is I'm assuming if you're watching this video that you might have some things in relation to me, right? At the same time, you also don't want to neglect your compounds. Like a perfect example is overhead press, grow some good shoulders, at least your front out. What's it called? What's the other one? Barbell rolls to grow your back, like all the greats used to do it. Now, granted, there's better options, so I'm not necessarily going to suggest over barbell rolls unless you enjoy it. Because the biggest thing is if you enjoy a workout, you're going to stick to it long term. A perfect example is I hate Bulgarian split squats, meaning I only do Bulgarians like once a month in comparison to like a walking lunge or a step up, where I'm more likely to do that, which is why I make more. So my point is, if you enjoy a workout, even if you don't find it optimal, because I know nowadays people are saying, "Oh, barbell rolls aren't too optimal." Optimal, there's better options, which they definitely are. But my biggest thing is, if you enjoy something, you should stick to it. Don't try to be so like science based and try to be like, "Oh, this single arm pull down extension, blah 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 blah, is the ideal way to grow my back." If you enjoy a row and you put your heart into it, do a row. That's what I would suggest for you. But that was a long tangent that I didn't necessarily need to do. But a perfect example is, let's say we're talking about chest and you feel like you have a pigeon chest, and you want to grow it right. A perfect idea is to do, you want to hammer it on an upper body day and a push day. Or if you have small arms, which most guys do, to do a push pull legs because your arms don't really get hit as well as your other muscle groups do. You could either do it first, you cannot have a specific day for it, which I did for a little while, and I still kind of do, but I don't really prioritize them like I used to, just because like I don't want. Though, granted, it's hard for like a natural person. I'm talking on the basis of that, assuming you're natural, right? It's kind of hard for a natural person to like have anything that's overpowered. In a sense, it's not impossible, but it's just like that's like at least bare minimum 5 years of you working out hard and you just really like putting the pedal to the metal. Because like an average person is not going to be able to like work out for like 2 years and have like an overpowered like, let's say, shoulder. I don't know. But granted, everybody's genetics are different, so I don't want to necessarily say that. But everything I'm mentioning, none of this doesn't matter if you just like overdo it. Like, I'm not suggesting you train any muscle group 4 times a week or even 3 times. 3 times might be even too much depending on the group. But This is the only reason why I mention this, because your CNS can't recover. And if you can't recover, you're not going to see progress. And if you don't see progress, this is all counterintuitive. So long term, if this is something you actually want to consider doing for yourself, you want to make small increments to make sure you make a substantial change long term. But if you had to pick between looking strong or being strong, I could go more in depth about that. This was just like a general like overview. Hope this helps someone though.